Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about something that I think has been overlooked for the most part, but is starting to become more and more put into focus, especially with the past couple of weeks, and that is plain and simple the lack of budget cards in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM. I feel like in previous 2Ks, one of the things that made those 2Ks great was the accessibility of budget cards, guys that you could buy for 5 or 10 or 20 or 40,000 MT, and that could compete against the top cards in the game at their position for that price point. In previous years, I considered a budget card less than 50,000 MT on the auction house. That's what I considered a budget card, and what I always did when I ranked my budget when I ranked the top budget cards for videos and stuff was if they were under 50k MT. But there are often cards that you could use that could compete at any point in the year for less than 10,000 MT at pretty much every single position in the game. But there were always at least a couple of top budget cards, guys you could get for less than 10,000 MT that could compete at a high level, and then you'd have a couple guys that you could get for 40 or 50,000 MT, maybe even up to 60 or 70,000 MT. But guys that you could get who could compete at a very high level for less MT. This year, it's harder to do that. If you don't have the MT for the amethyst level and up players, the amethysts and the diamonds, it is honestly pretty hard to compete, and I think that is something that I'm not a big fan of. I actually think free content, honestly, up until the past couple of weeks has been really good. I'm hoping that we're going to see an event this Wednesday. They're saying there's an event coming this Wednesday. I'm hoping that means big grindable event, something rewarding for the people and not something that's a spend money event. We don't need any more spend money events, please. But point being, I think this year the free content has actually been pretty good, and I think you can build a very good, very rewarding team if you play the game a bunch, even without spending a lot of money. I think it's 100% attainable. Some of the best cards in the game are free rewards, guys like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Brandon Roy and Wilt Chamberlain and cards like that. There are a lot of good free rewards, and then you have a lot of guys like Sean Livingston and Steve Smith and Dwayne Wade and other grindable rewards who are very good cards. There's no doubt about it. The Gauntlet rewarded us with Chris Bosh in Season 1. Joe Johnson isn't as good, but he's rewarding as well if you're good enough to get him. There are good free cards, and hopefully there will continue to be good free cards. The problem is those rubies and those sapphires, those lower tier cards need to be better this year. And honestly, number one, the less than 10k cards are just not good, with the exception of a couple of the small forwards, basically like Jordan Walsh and Robert Covington. None of the less than 10k cards can even justify having a spot on people's teams. The only ones that really can are the 3-and-D small forwards, which is a very simple skill set, so a lot of cards can do that. So a guy like an Emerald Robert Covington is still a usable card at the small forward position, because all you need to do is shoot threes and hit and play defense, and he does both of those things pretty darn well. Outside of those very couple guys, though, there really aren't any guys for the super cheap new players who can compete. And I'm not saying that you need to have absolute god tier options, but I think there need to be more decent options for the lower tier players so they can put a budget card in their team and feel comfortable with those types of guys. Even when you look at the quote-unquote higher tier budget cards, the rubies that are in the game that are somewhere between 40 and 60,000 MT, the best rubies in the game, there are a couple of pretty good ones. Baron Davis and Michael Richardson at point guard are pretty good. The shooting guard position is basically bare when it comes to buyable rubies that are good. Small forward position, honestly, kind of similar as well. If you're looking for really good small forwards, it's going to have to be Amethyst. It's guys like AK and Kawhi. And then power forward, I mean, Joe Smith is a good card. X-Man's okay, but there really aren't any great options budget-wise at power forward. Center has Serge Ibaka, who's a very good budget card, but outside of him, there really aren't very many options there either. When you look at even the higher tier budget cards, there aren't really that many guys, and those guys that I did name, Baron Davis, Michael Richardson, Joe Smith, Serge Ibaka, sure, they are 100% usable in your lineup, but they are not amazing cards that are going to be on the level of guys. I mean, not that they have to be on the level of, but they're not close enough to the level, with the exception maybe of Ibaka, to guys like Giannis and Chet and Chris Bosh and Embiid and Shaq and Wilt and the top cards in the game. And that just, I think, is a problem, that it's not accessible for a player to just go buy 500,000 MT if they want to log into my team and build a really good team from scratch. You can build an okay-ish team, I guess, with 500k MT, but in previous years, you could literally load up my team with 100,000 MT, 200,000 MT, and build yourself a really good team already. Off rip, a team that you could pretty much compete online with. You just really can't do this year. I mean, I remember so many good budget cards from previous years. I remember Pink Diamond RJ Barrett, Pink Diamond Cam Reddish. There was a Pink Diamond Jeremy Lin that was really good one year. I think there was an Amethyst Fred VanVleet at the beginning of 2K22 that I really, really liked. Amethyst Mikal Bridges in 2K22 was like 5,000 MT for an absolutely elite 3-and-D small forward. He was an amazing budget option around this time. There was a Diamond Jonathan Isaac last year, Diamond Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Diamond Kristaps Porzingis, Diamond Thurl Bailey. There were a lot of good budget cards in these previous years, and there's been so many of these guys that were attainable, and it's been a thing. I mean, even back in 2K17, I remember Caldy doing a budget players series on his channel. Like, budget cards have been an important and crucial part of the 2K MyTEAM community for so long, and to see them basically die out is something that I think is really disappointing. And then you get to a week like this week, and we didn't get a single budget content this whole week, outside of, I guess, the free Ruby Juan Toscano Anderson, who is free content. He's an okay card. I'm cool with that. We need more of it. But the Showtime drop was 3 Amethysts and above. Corey Maggette and Aaron Gordon, both 112,000 MT. Not that great of cards, either good cards, but probably not guys that people are mainly targeting for 112K. That's a lot of MT for the starter level, entry level cards to the set. And then John Wall's 245K. Today we get 3 diamonds, 245K a piece, and 2 more amethysts, Rashard Lewis and Hedo Turkoglu. Again, it's just not very accessible for a new player, and I think this is something that's a big problem, and I got to give DBG credit because he called it, and he did realize this was coming with the player market, and he's right. This is one of the biggest problems. There's so many issues with this game right now, and the problem is I think a lot of them are fixable. The gameplay is super fixable. Just revert it back to the way that it was at the beginning of season, or in season 1. It'll be fine. People will survive. Heavy's getting green on them occasionally. The gameplay is fun at that stage, and we need fun gameplay, and right now the game is just not fun to play with the backdoor mashing rim run simulator that we're playing right now. But we need more free grindable content, sure, but I think 2K has done a pretty good job of that up until the last couple weeks, and hopefully will continue to. But the budget cards are the biggest area that we need improved. I will give 2K credit. The tournament battle set that we got last Friday does have the potential to produce some really, really good budget cards eventually. And the reason I will say that, and I'll point that out again, and I'll just come down here and talk about these cards. These guys, in a couple weeks, when we start getting really deep into the in-season tournament and you start getting teams that have won 3 or 4 of their in-season tournament games, we're going to get several rubies. We're going to get a few amethysts and a couple of diamonds as well. And some of these cards are really, really good. For example, Bobby Portis. They're all going to be 13,860 MT. They're staying at the MT price they are. Bobby Portis plays for the Bucks. They're already 1-0 in the in-season tournament, so he's already a Sapphire. They have 3 more games. If they win all 3 of them, we're going to have a free diamond Bobby. Not free, but a diamond Bobby Portis for less than 14,000 MT. Incredible value card. He's going to be an absolute monster. He plays for a great team. Will likely at least be an amethyst for 13,000 MT, and he is an absolutely phenomenal option. There are going to be other ones as well. Derek White is a great card. Wendell Carter Jr., if the Magic do well in the in-season tournament, really, really good card. There are a lot of very promising in-season tournament card type of guys, obviously. Some of these guys will be good if their teams are better. For example, Amin Thompson, if the Rockets could win a few games in the in-season tournament, that'd be cool, but they're not a great team, although they've been playing well. But another great one is KCP. KCP is an absolutely elite budget shooting guard option right now. For 13,000 MT, he gets up to a diamond, which is very plausible on the Nuggets, even up to an amethyst. He's going to be great as well. There are so many good options. Naz Reid plays for a really good Timberwolves team. He's a great card. Jared Vanderbilt, if the Lakers can get it together, he's a great option as well. Already a really good emerald. There's so many good ones here. We need a lot more of this, though, because right now, honestly, this isn't helping budget players that much. It will more so in a couple weeks, and it'll be a big help, but it's also only going to be like 5 or 6 guys, probably in all likelihood, that really have the potential to help a ton of teams, that are actually going to get evoed up high enough at amethyst, at diamond, to really help out a lot of teams. And hopefully it's going to be guys who are already good cards already, and not guys who are just not very good as amethysts or diamonds. So you got to cross your fingers for that to happen as well. And I think this is a cool concept. I want to give 2K a little bit of credit for it, but in general, the lack of budget cards is a big problem right now, and I think it's becoming a bigger issue, especially since they're like ignoring it now. There are a few good budget options. I understand that, and the free content has actually been decent, and hopefully will continue to be good. But we need more. We need better sapphires. We need better rubies. We need more viable content, and maybe we just need prices to go down more in general as well on older cards. Older cards being as expensive as they still are is not something that I think is very acceptable right now. For example, I mean, Scottie Pippen is 82,600 MT. That's probably about as affordable as it gets for a really good amethyst. In fact, I think that is as affordable as it gets. But you look at these rubies, I mean, even a guy like Kyle Merlin and Kyle Korver, they're still 41,000 MT. That's a lot of MT for like mediocre ruby cards. These amethysts, why is Andrew Bogut 70,000 MT? Nobody wants this Andrew Bogut card. He should be 8K at this point. I mean, he should be 20K at this point at least. Drop the cards, drop the price of at least the undesirable players more dramatically. Drop the price of the old cards more dramatically. Make these cards more attainable for people to get. Right now, there just are not enough good cards available for cheaper prices, and they don't have to be the best cards in the game, but they just have to be able to compete. It just makes it very hard for somebody new to my team to currently come in and compete without, number one, spending a lot of time in the game, or number two, spending a lot of money in the game. And that can be a bit challenging. I think if you are very intentional and very smart with the way you play my team and understand the mode, you can 100% compete as a no money spent player. No doubt. Honestly, it's easier than it's ever been if you understand what you're doing. But for the casual player base, the game has probably never felt more scary and uninviting when you load into every game and it's just sweat after sweat for the most part in a lot of these modes, especially in a mode like Unlimited. And then you struggle so much to get good cards on your team because there just aren't that many great cards that are affordable. I think you need more budget cards. I think that's one of the biggest areas that we're lacking right now. We have good free cards and we have a ton of good buyable cards, obviously. We could use some more budget cards. Like, seriously, would really help out this game a lot right now, I think. But it's just something I wanted to reach out and talk about again. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that we get a really good free card grindable event this week and maybe see some more budget card options on Tuesday. And that level up set, we get a couple of good budget cards. And then whatever comes out Friday, hopefully that'll have some good budget cards in it as well. We need more affordable cards for the starter player that they can use and that can compete at a high level for a cheaper price point. And right now we just don't have very many of those cards, which is a real shame. But I've rambled for long enough. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. I appreciate y'all. Peace.